Good afternoon. This is the Board of County Commissioners meeting. It is Tuesday, July 26, 2022. It is 2:06 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by me today, but since we have Judge Wilson here, Judge Wilson, will you lead us in the pledge? Sure. The flag is right. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Vice Chair Menser, would you like to do a land acknowledgement today?
Madam Chair, I might ask you to cover that if you could. And
just found it, sir.
Thank you.
So the land acknowledgement for today is we would also like to start today with a land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Indigenous Salish people who have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial and who still inhabit the area today, specifically the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connections across all barriers of heritage and difference. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing. With that, I'll go ahead and do presentations. I am Chair Carolina Mejia. Vice Chair Ty Menser is joining us via Zoom today, and Commissioner Gary Edwards is excused. In the boardroom, we have Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell, as well as Clerk of the Board Jamie Caldwell. We also have staff joining us via Zoom. With that, we'll start with the approval of the Tuesday, July 26, 2022 agenda. Is there a motion?
Yes, I move to approve the proposed agenda for Tuesday, July 26, 2022.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No move.
Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Next is the approval of the board meeting minutes from July 19th, 2022. Is there a motion?
I move to approve board meeting minutes from July 19th, 2022.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards is excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Today we have a presentation from Superior Court, and it's the introduction of the new Superior Court Administrator. Judge Wilson.
Good afternoon, commissioners and other officials and members of the public. It's my great pleasure to be here to introduce our new Superior Court Administrator, Kristen Jensen. She's standing beside me. Are we in the camera?
Yes.
It's hard to tell. You know, when we're at court doing things by Zoom, sometimes you can see some of the folks and you don't know if you're in the right line. Anyhow, we are thrilled to have Ms. Jensen as our new court administrator. She joined us a few weeks ago. She's in her third week, July 11th. She comes to us having previously worked at the Attorney General's office and specifically managing as an executive manager in the Solicitor General's division at the Attorney General's office, having worked there for 16 years and managed for the last 8 years. You know a lot about the Attorney General's office, I'm sure, but a little bit about the Solicitor General's unit is they do the appellate work and a lot of litigation on high-profile topics in state and federal courts. They support all of the appellate work statewide with some 600 lawyers who work in appellate courts. And Kristen and her team supported making sure that that was high quality and timely, and that's a really fast-paced environment. Well, that has a lot of parallels to Superior Court, where we have a lot of things coming at us on a daily and weekly basis. We obviously adjusted our operations approach more than 2 years ago when we were hit by the pandemic. We do a lot of hearings using remote technologies, and we are facing what everybody's facing, which is the challenges of recruiting and retraining and retaining excellent staff. Well, Kristen's background is excellent to support us in successfully meeting all of those current challenges and achieving our goals. So you all will get to work a lot with Kristen. We are thrilled to have her. In just her first 2+ weeks, she's gotten around the court and met every judge and many of our other team members. And she's beginning now in meeting with other folks throughout the county and organizations that we interact with. If you haven't had a chance to meet one-on-one with her, please contact Kristen or my assistant, Teresa Burke, who's making sure that we get those meetings set up. And if you have any questions for the court about our transition with Kristen, please feel free to direct them to me through Ms. Burke. We are, as I said, thrilled to have Kristen with us. She's focusing on making sure that our operations are efficient and effective. We've asked her in the short term to help us on our technology and pro tem work that is part of our grant that we have recently received from the state on funding efforts to continue to help us to continue to respond to the pandemic. Again, staff recruiting and retention, really important, so developing our plans there. And then continuing to support us in working to be strategic in our operations, including justice system improvements to making sure that we're inclusive and addressing concerns regarding equity, et cetera. So we are just thrilled to have Kristen here. Kristen Jensen, would you like to say hello to everybody?
Hello, and thank you. It's very nice to meet everybody. I am also thrilled to be here. It's been a busy couple of weeks. I'm just starting my 3rd week, so I've had a lot of time to fill my calendar with meetings and introductions, and have been really impressed with all of the people I've met. I'm looking forward to working with the court, supporting the court, and all the great work that's being done at the Superior Court, but also to be in Thurston County and just to see all the wonderful work that's being done countywide. So very nice to meet everybody.
Thank you.
So does anybody have any questions for us?
Commissioner Menser, any questions, comments?
No questions. I guess just to say welcome to Kristen. I look forward to working with you. Before I was commissioner, I was an attorney here, so I keep a careful eye on our courts, and I look forward to working through innovative processes and solutions with you as we go forward.
Thank you.
No, and welcome, Kristen. Excited to have you here and excited to work with you in the future.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to step out and step back into a court proceeding I'm in the middle of, and Kristen will stay for a little bit, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That concludes our presentation. Just for members of the public, at 3 p.m. I will be pausing. We have 2 public hearings today, so we will pause our agenda and we will proceed with the public hearings, and then we will be coming back to our regular set agenda. So with that, it's an opportunity for the public to address the board. Now, there are some guidelines for public comments, and the Board of Thurston County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. The general speaking guidelines are as follows. Please introduce yourself, including the address you reside in the county. Please address the board, not the audience or staff. Please silence your cell phones for those members in the boardroom. Speakers are limited to a total of 4 minutes to address the board. Meeting attendees cannot donate their speaking time to another person. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outburst of any kind. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records, subject to the public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 of the RCW. No remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board on appeal, and no electioneering. Thank you so much for your cooperation. With that, I'll start with the members in the boardroom, and then I will move to Zoom. I have Mr. John Pettit.
She's a little shorter. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Pettit. I live on Rich Road Southeast in East Olympia. It's a very hot day out there, so everyone needs to stay cool. I submitted some information previously as to potential expected public comment, and yes, of course, I'm making some comments, and I kind of feel bad. We only have one commissioner on site with us today, and I'm one of these old-fashioned people. I like to see people eye to eye. Something about you can read people more by seeing them in person. You can't read people by having them gone. So at least I have one, the one that shows up, the one that goes and sees people. Well, my first comment's going to be this. It has to do with, the question is, if you believe you represent the voice of the people, why don't you want or let the people vote on increased taxes and bond debt? It's a real simple question, and obviously it's a little bit pointed at the fact that we've had an increase in sales tax that was approved Council-matic, and now we're all paying more taxes in the county, not in the city of Olympia. And that was an option, would have been to be able to put it on the ballot, let the people vote. It was chosen not to do that. We have some issues about a potential bond, of which I've already appealed, and it will be subject to dealing with some court matters. I would suggest the county would be better off to repeal that particular measure and go a different direction, which would be to put it before the people, let the people vote on it. That would be the right way to do it, and then it would be clear what the money would be used for. So I'm going to encourage, when you make some decisions here a little later today, you make sure you're always including that while you want to be a voice of the people, you make sure the people get invited to be commenting. In most city council meetings, you'll have the opportunity for each agenda item for public comment, not just one public comment for the entire meeting to deal with all the different issues. Now, another thing I wanted to deal with very briefly is you have a line item number 5 today, trying to deal with moving forward with a budget amendment, a capital budget amendment. I've already sent in a lot of information regarding it. But you know, if you don't truly know all the information and you're voting on something, when you vote, I'm expecting you to be able to explain your vote with knowledge, or you choose to put it off until you can. So here was my are you just puppets of the county staff, or are you elected representatives of the people? If you're a puppet, you vote as told by staff without an explanation as to why you vote a certain way. If you're a representative of the people, you explain with reason and detail for voting a certain way. Commissioner Edwards, usually he likes to talk a lot, so we get a lot out of him. I'm one of the people too. So my final little thing I'm going to talk about is a follow-up on some issues previously with Mr. Ballard and my own particular issue. The county has been having a real problem with deciding they want to extract money out of some of the funds. Treatment sales tax, the Veterans Fund. Do you know that they actually put money, you take money out of these funds for building reserves? A fund that's collected in order to benefit people. And yet what happens? You end up taking it in order to move the money out of that fund and into other things. I'll be dropping these copies off over here. Hopefully you'll get a copy and see all the things that are being diverted out of it for inter-fund transfers.
Thank you. Next, I have Terry Ballard.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name's Terry Ballard. I'm a 35-year veteran and live in Tangowild, unincorporated Thurston County. There's been a lot of movement in the Veterans Fund, I noticed, in the last 20 days. We have a wage and benefits for one full-time employee of $46,000. We have a intra fund that hasn't been touched in 20 days, and the total between for administrative overhead is $58,000. Okay, we need to do better as far as giving veterans more than your administrative overhead. And where your veteran increased you had a veteran increase in the last last 20 days of between $18,000 that was on 7/5 and a payment of $53,000. Now, where did this $53,000, or should I say $34,691 increase go? Well, it went to rent. Okay, I thought we were in COVID. I thought prior to the other day, we would use COVID money for rent. Oh, we just take it out of the Veterans Fund, a little bit more that we can supplement for other funds. The shell game, okay? Are we giving this to homeless veterans who we don't know if they're veteran or not for the shelters? Oh, by the way, per your agreement with the Veterans Fund, per your policies and procedures, those veterans who show no or little income, that's those shelter people, okay? They're supposed to be on a state food program and have Medicaid. Are they on a state program? And do they have Medicaid? Absolutely not. Okay? But if you want to draw from the Veterans Fund for anything, you're going to need those items because you're showing no to little income. Okay? And as far as me, I'm a service officer. I do pensions and compensation for veterans. So I know a lot about that. Okay, the balance really gets me here, okay, is because we have a carryover of $1,127,000 from last year. And we have a balance of $178,969 left of the revenue that we collected for this year. Wow. Are you collecting this revenue? Well, I'll tell you where it's going in compensation. I was lied to here. People say, oh, you can't address them, and the manager can address you, but he's speaking for you. So where's the positive change? Where's the communication here, okay? I'd like everything that the manager wants in writing. I request it, I require it, okay? Because the man lies through his teeth. Okay, the other manager, he lied through his teeth. He lied about this. He lied about my septic fee. He lied about everything else. But you know what? I'm the liar, and he represents you, not me. And I'll give you this document that you used to gain funds for the general fund, which are the Veterans Fund, the Mental Health Fund, and the Road Fund, which are all not general funds. Thank you. I'll give all this to there, and I'll also follow up an email. I want my apology from all, in writing, from all the commissioners, because I hate to be called a liar in public.
Anyone else in the boardroom? So Robin, can you call people on Zoom, as I cannot see who's on there?
Yes, Commissioner. We're going to start with Doug Carmen. Mr. Carmen, would you like to testify?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Doug Carmen. I reside at 4102 Cairo Road, Southeast in unincorporated Lacey. I'm chair of the Long Lake Management District Steering Committee and on the team of Joint Lake Management District leaders. We're sure you are as tired of us coming before you with complaints and requests for your help as we are standing here delivering them. We long for the days when we stood here talking about our successes in lake management and optimism for the future. As you are aware, we have a briefing scheduled with you for August 3rd at 1 p.m. You will be receiving the pre-read material for that meeting this week. There's been a lot of thought and collaboration going into this briefing, and we feel it will help. It will be a step forward toward the return to a partnership between the county and the lake management districts, as well as a roadmap forward as new groups form for LMDs. We hope you will read the material carefully and prepare your questions for us. Only through open and honest dialogue will we move forward for the benefit of our citizens and the water quality of our lakes. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Carmen. Next, Christina Janis.
No comments today, thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Jesse Simmons.
No comments today, thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Next, we have Kaylin McCrea.
No comments today. Thank you.
Okay. Laurelyn Lirio. No. Okay. Margaret Tudor.
Is this the right time to speak to in support of the Patterson Lake Management District?
That will be at 3.
Good.
Yeah, that will be a public hearing at 3 o'clock. And will it be on the same Zoom?
It will be on the same Zoom. So
All right.
I will announce it when it's time for public comment for the Patterson Lake.
Yeah,
Thank
so
I'll
please,
wait. Thank you.
please do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we have Sharon Walker. Oh, Ms. Walker. Okay, and Tony Judah. So, is there anyone else on the Zoom whose name I have not called who would like to testify this afternoon? No, I see. Tony, did you want to testify? I see him on the screen on the phone, but.
Okay.
All right, that's all I have.
Okay. With that, I saw a gentleman step in. Okay.
Okay.
Next, we'll move on to county manager's update.
I have no specific update at this time. However, I would like to invite our Director of Emergency Services, Kurt Harden, to say a few words about our cooling stations.
Yeah, good morning. I should say good afternoon, Commissioners. Kurt Harden, Director of Thurston County Emergency Services. Many people are aware that the National Weather Service has declared a heat advisory in Thurston County and surrounding areas. This heat advisory for Thurston County is expected to remain in place under current predictions through 9 p.m. on Friday evening. As a result, emergency management staff have pulled together a listing of, and it's on our website, but a listing of cooling centers around the county. And I would just like to list those cooling centers. Exact locations are on the website. But in Olympia, we have the Olympia Timberland Library and the Olympia Senior Center as a cooling station. In Yelm, we have the Yelm and the Yelm Senior Center, our cooling stations. In Tumwater, we have the Tumwater Timberland Library. In Tenino, it's the Tenino Timberland Library. In Lacey, we have 3 locations. They're the Hawks Prairie Timberland Library, the Lacey Timberland Library, and the Virgil S. Clarkson Senior Center. In Rainier, it's the Rainier Senior Center. And then in the town of Bucota, it's Bucota Community Center. The times and addresses for those locations are on our website as well. And so just want to emphasize to people that if they need to get a break from the heat, they're more than welcome to go into those cooling centers.
Thank you, Kurt. That's all we have this afternoon, Commissioner.
Thank you. Commissioner Menser, any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to consent items, and there's 3 on the agenda. Is there a motion?
Yes, I move to approve consent items 3A through 3C.
I'll second. Is there any discussion on any of them? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Moving on to department items. Items 4A from the Auditor's Office, approval of the voucher list.
Thank you, Commissioner. Robin Campbell Assistant County Manager, and this afternoon, I request your approval of the weekly voucher list. According to state law, commissioners are required to approve all expenditures of the county, and this $4.3 million represents the amounts that were spent during the week of June 27th of 2022. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions? Commissioner Menzer.
No.
I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve the voucher list for the week of June 27th, 2022 for a combined total of $4,312,514.90.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards excused. Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Next, from the Commissioner's Office, item 5A, 2022 Budget Amendment, Capital.
Thank you, Commissioner. This item is a special budget amendment only for capital projects. The reason that this amendment is before you at this time is that in executing our capital projects in the county, we discovered that through supply chain issues and inflation, the costs of our capital projects have been going up at a rate that exceeded appropriations made at the beginning of the year. I would just note that estimates for capital projects are made in July of the year prior, and we could not have predicted inflation at the current rates. So again, this is capital items only, and the funding for each of these items, the money is in the funds. We just need appropriation authority to be able to complete these projects. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Commissioner Menzer.
Robin, just to clarify, the consequence of increasing these expenditure authorities is projects in future years, our ability to kind of work down our priority lists. It's not that we're shifting money from some other priority at this point. It's really about the priority list for these types of capital projects. Do I have that basically correct?
Yes, Commissioner. These projects are all projects that we had already begun. We have estimates that have been updated. We have bids that have come in above budget. But all of these projects are priorities that were previously approved by the board. So nothing new, and we are taking the funding for them from existing fund balance.
No other questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Robin, there was some comments about the accounting code and the capital project number. Can you please walk us through that?
Project number, sure. So on the capital project list, excuse me, we use, in our accounting, we use project codes to be able to track the cost of our projects. We also use project codes in the capital improvement. It's the the CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan. For a minute, I could remember what the acronym stood for. Anyway, the project code is a simple tracking mechanism. And for very large projects, we often use many project codes. They will not necessarily align to what's in the CIP. It is a mechanism to track the funds. However, for the item that was in question, we did change the project code in the attachments to the to your agenda today, so that it aligns at a high level with the CIP.
Thank you.
Just an accounting code.
So I know this was an item Commissioner Edwards he did not approve. It passed on a 2-1 vote. Can we remove that item and put it on for next week's agenda so he can have the right to his vote, or?
So in accordance with state law, and I'm looking at the screen to see if the attorney is available, but it is my understanding that Washington state law requires that the Board of County Commissioners set an amount for a budget amendment and publish that amount in the official newspaper once a week for each of 2 weeks, with your intention to adopt the amendment on a specific date. So our attorneys have told us that at this point in time, you cannot change the amount of the amendment. It has been published in accordance with state law. You can remove the item from today's agenda, the entire budget amendment, and postpone that to a later date. But the soonest you would be able to take that up again is in 3 weeks, because if you're going to change the amount, we would have to publish that again along with the date of adoption once a week for 2 weeks prior to the adoption date. So this is a up or down vote. And some of the items that you will hear later on in the agenda are dependent on this budget amendment, because state law also states that a county cannot appropriate or rather cannot spend or obligate an amount in excess of appropriation. So we can't enter into these contracts until the board increases appropriation authority for public works or central services.
So then that would delay the other matters on the agenda today.
It would absolutely delay.
We would have to
items.
remove those. Okay.
Yes.
With that, there's.
Pardon me for interrupting, but I would mention that these items are time sensitive. Specifically, one item that is for construction in the stream, because we have a very specific fish window when we can do work in streams. So that window is closing soon.
Thank you. Okay, with that, are there any further questions? I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve the resolution to adopt capital budget amendment, including attachment A, budget and FTE by department report, and attachment B, budget amendment detail report.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Menser, you unmuted. Go ahead.
No, I have no discussion point.
Commissioner Edwards is excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Right now, I'm seeing on my screen, there's a lady in a white coat with a, I don't know,
Excuse me,
a
ma'am.
red shirt
Please
on
put
or
yourself
whatever and a
on mute.
mask.
With that, we'll move on to community planning and economic development. Item 6A, request for proposals on an industrial lands assessment of rural Thurston County and the urban growth areas. Andrew?
Thank you. Andrew Bond with Community Planning. Thurston County Community Planning seeks to issue a request for proposals to solicit bids from qualified firms to complete a comprehensive review of all industrial lands within rural Thurston County and the urban growth areas. This is item CP8 on the comprehensive plan docket and was prioritized by the Board of County Commissioners as 3 out of 9 proposals. The purpose of the study is to determine whether an adequate supply of industrial lands exists to accommodate demand. The study will cover economic trends, review existing supply, and address 3 growth scenarios over the next 20 years. Each scenario will be accompanied by recommended changes to policies and regulatory requirements. Based on the assessment findings, The contractor will identify potential areas for rezoning and changes to possible infrastructure improvement and regulatory provisions. Upon receipt, review, and scoring of the submitted proposals, community planning will enter into contract negotiations with the highest rated consultant. Subsequently, the negotiated contract will be presented to the Board of County Commissioners for an award proposal. All contract expenditures will be funded through the community planning's professional service budget. This action is in alignment with the Thurston County Strategic Initiative number 6, which states proactively shape a strong, diverse economy that provides equitable access to opportunity, and Strategic Initiative number 7, balanced development with the preservation of county's rural character, natural areas, and open spaces. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Questions, Commissioner Menser?
No questions.
Okay, I don't have any questions either. I'm ready for a motion.
I move to authorize the Director of Community Planning and Economic Development to issue a request for proposals on an industrial lands assessment of rural Thurston County and the urban growth areas.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am. I would just make the comment that this action is a follow-up by the Board of County Commissioners from a proposal from our Planning Commission, who we've received a great number of proposals for zoning changes to accommodate industrial activity. And we have some high-level information from the Thurston Regional Planning Council that kind of created some conflict and questions. And so we're doing this deeper dive at the suggestion of the Planning Commission. So I think it'll be really interesting information that will assist them and us as we make these difficult land use decisions over the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Next, moving on to Public Health and Social Services, item 7A, approval of amendment number 5 to the Washington State Department of Health 2022 through 2024 consolidated contract number CLH 31030. And Kurt Harding, Interim Director of Public Health and Social Services, will present this matter.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kurt Hardin, Thurston County Interim Director of Public Health and Services. I'm here to request the board approve amendment number 5 to the State of Washington Department of Health Consolidated Contract number CLH 31030, also known as the CONCON. This amendment increases the contract amount by $2,570,638 for a total contract amount of $9,348,056. The contract provides funding for COVID-19 mass vaccination, DCHS, epidemiology and laboratory capacity COVID response, infectious disease prevention, and also promotion of immunizations to improve vaccination rates. The board approved the base contract on January 11th, the Amendment 1 to the contract on March 15th, and Amendments 2 and 3 on April 26th, and Amendment number 4 on June 7th. The Department of Health will continue to send additional amendments for a scope of work and funding for this contract, as this is the mechanism used to transmit federal and state funding for public health services to the county. This contract expires in December 31st, 2024. Subject to your questions, I request the board approve the amendment and authorize the Interim Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the amendment and future amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Menser?
No, thank you.
I'm ready for a motion, sir.
I move to approve amendment number 5 to the State of Washington Department of Health Consolidated Contract CLH 31030, providing an additional $2,570,638 for a revised maximum consideration of $9,348,056 for the duration of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024, and authorize the Interim Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the amendment.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards is excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Next
Thank you.
item, 7B, approval of professional services agreements with contractors for supported employment, high school transition, value-based payment, and community inclusion services. Mark Moffitt, Community Program Manager, will present this item. Mark.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mark Moffitt, Program Manager for Social Services for Thurston County. Our program uses funds from the Developmental Disabilities Administration to contract with local service providers to deliver supported employment, high school transition services, job foundation, and community inclusion services for adults with developmental disabilities in Thurston and Mason counties. Supported employment services assist clients with career exploration, job development, on-the-job training, and workplace support to help adults with developmental disabilities access and retain meaningful employment. Today, what we're asking is for you to approve the Thurston Mason County Developmental Disabilities Professional Service Agreements with the following agencies: Career Quest, Center Force, Exceptional Foresters, Morningside, and Bodice for a combined total of $5,567,019 to provide supported employment services for the period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023.
Any questions? Commissioner Menser.
No, ma'am.
I don't have any questions as well. Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve Thurston Mason County Developmental Disabilities Professional Services Agreements with Career Quest, Center Force, Exceptional Foresters, Morningside, and Badice for a combined total of $5,567,019 to provide supported employment, high school transition, job foundation, value-based payment, and community inclusion services for the period July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, and to authorize the Interim Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign these agreements and any future amendments that do not change the durations or compensations by more than 10%.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards is excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to item C, contract with Catholic Community Services Southwest, emergency shelter services for veterans. Lanice Milan, Quality Assurance and Community Program Manager, will present this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Lanice Milan. I'm the Community Program Manager with Thurston County Public Health and Social Services. I'm requesting approval for the contract with Catholic Community Services for the Drexel House Shelter. With this proposal, the Drexel House will commit to 3 out of 16 beds to eligible veterans in the Thurston County area. Are there any questions?
Questions, Commissioner Menser?
My questions have all been answered in previous board discussions. Thank you.
Commissioner, may I add one thing, please?
Yes, go ahead, Mark.
I just want to make sure it's very clear that this is a contract for reimbursement of services. So the really quick, the process that we work with Catholic Community Services, that they provide the service to the veteran, they'll collect the DD-214, which is their military discharge papers. And at the end of that quarter, they'll submit an invoice to the county. We review all DD-214s to ensure that that the veterans qualify for the program. And at that time, we release funds. We do not release funds prior to that.
Thank you, Mark. I asked this question before, but just for public knowledge, Mark, what happens if a veteran does not have their service card?
So Catholic Community Services will work with them to get their DD-214. The Washington Department of Veterans Affairs will also work with them. And then if they can't find that, we send them to the Lacey Veterans Hub, and we have people there that can also support them. So we try to exercise all options to help them find their discharge paper.
Thank you. And for any members of the public who have questions, we had a lot of discussions about this at our previous agenda setting last Tuesday, as well as this agenda setting. With that, I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve the contract with Catholic Community Services Southwest in the amount of $49,275 for the period January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022, to provide shelter services, including shelter stays for homeless veterans and their families at the Drexel House Emergency Shelter. and authorize the interim director of public health and social services to sign the contract and amendments that do not exceed 10%.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards is excused. Commissioner Mensah?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Item D, amend interagency agreement with Washington State Department of Commerce for rent assistant. Thomas Webster, our senior program manager, will present this. Tom?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tom Webster with Public Health and Social Services. So I'm here to ask your approval to sign an interagency agreement amendment between Thurston County and the Washington State Department of Commerce for the Eviction Rent Assistance Program 2.0 to add $1,670,217 in funds. This is a program, this is a contract that was approved by you on June 7th of 2022 for $7,535,849. So with this amendment, that will bring the total value of the contract to $9,206,066. And I'm happy to answer any questions about this item.
Questions? Commissioner Mensah?
No questions.
I don't have any as well. I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve the interagency agreement amendment between Thurston County and Washington State Department of Commerce for the Eviction Rent Assistance Program 2.0 to add $1,670,217 in funds and authorize the county manager to sign the agreement and any amendments that do not change the amount by more than 10%.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards is excused. Commissioner Mensah?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. We'll go ahead and do one more item, and then we'll go and move on to the public hearing. I think we might have time just for one more item. Item E, amend rent assistant contracts with Life Stories and Community Youth Services.
Good afternoon again, Commissioner. So this item is a follow-up on the item you just passed. So with the revenue you just approved to receive from the Department of Commerce, we would like to issue two contracts and to amend two existing contracts. One is with Giaco DBA Live Stories to add additional $1,453,089 to their contract for rent assistance, and to Community Youth Services to increase their contract by $167,021. Both of these contracts, agencies are currently implementing rent assistance programs, so this will add additional funds to those programs. These funds must be spent by June 30th of 2023. I want to kind of point out that especially with the Live Stories for single adults, we have closed our applications for new rent assistance applications. At this point, we do not anticipate opening up our portal for additional applications with this funds. We have told folks who applied during the early weeks of June that funding of those applications would be provided if funding was available. So we're hopeful and optimistic that this additional funding will allow us to fund those applications. However, at this time, we do not anticipate opening up to accept new rent assistance applications. But we'll make that evaluation as we complete funding of those applications that we have received. With that, I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Mensah?
None from me.
I don't have any questions as well. Is there a motion?
I move to approve Eviction Rent Assistance Program 2.0 contract amendment with Giaco Inc. DBA Live Stories to increase the contract by up to $1,453,089 and Community Youth Services to increase the contract by up to $167,021 to continue rent and utility assistance programs in Thurston County funded through the Washington State Department of Commerce, and authorize the county manager to sign the contracts and any amendments that do not change the amount or duration by more than 10%.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards is excused. Commissioner Mensah?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. I guess I was wrong. We do have time for one more item. So item F, approval of right-of-way contracts. Tom?
Yes, thank you again, Commissioner. So here to ask your approval to issue two contracts between the county and Olympia Mutual Aid Partners, Angels for Angels, for $900,000 over 3 years for outreach activities, and a Safe Place for $200,000 for hotel leasing And so these are funds that the county received from the Washington State Department of Commerce under the governor's right-of-way initiative to rehouse folks living on the state's right-of-ways. So we issued a request for proposals in June and reviewed those applications. The Regional Housing Council technical team reviewed those applications, made a recommendation to the Regional Housing Council, and we're bringing forth for you the recommendation from the Regional Housing Council to make these 2 awards. Olympia Mutual Aid Partners will conduct outreach to those living on the state's right-of-way, and Safe Place will provide for hotel vouchers for those actively fleeing domestic violence who are currently living on the state's rights-of-way. So ask your approval to issue these contracts, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Menser?
No questions. We've got multiple discussions at the last 2 agenda settings. Thank you.
Thank you. No questions for me either. Is there a motion?
Yes, ma'am. I move to approve right-of-way contracts between the county and Olympia Mutual Aid Partners / Angels for Angels for $900,000 over 3 years for outreach activities, and a Safe Place for $200,000 for hotel leasing, and authorize the county manager to sign the contracts and any amendments that do not change the approved dollar amount or duration by more than 10%.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards is excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. With that, we'll go ahead and address the last item from Public Health and Social Services, item G, contract with Live Stories for hen payment assistance.
Thank you, Commissioner. So with this, we're asking, as you may be aware, our contract for the Housing and Essential Needs contract with Community Action Council is not renewed. Currently, the county is paying the eligible hen expenses to hen beneficiaries. Until we can provide a new permanent provider of the hen assistance program, we are asking to contract with Live Stories for up to 3 months to provide interim support into making those payments. So this is a request for a contract for up to $1 million to provide rent and other utility and eligible housing costs for housing and essential needs clients for a 3-month period on an interim basis. Happy to answer any questions about this item that you may have.
Any questions, Commissioner Menser?
No, ma'am.
I don't have any questions as well. Is there a motion?
I move to approve a contract with Giaco Inc. DBA Live Stories for up to $1 million to provide rent, utility, and other eligible housing costs for housing and essential needs clients on an interim basis for up to 3 months, and authorize the county manager to sign the contract and any amendments that do not change the amount or duration by more than 10%.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards is excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. With that, it is 2:59. We will be pausing here, and we will go and have our 2 public hearings that are set for 3 p.m., which is the proposed Patterson Lake Management District, as well as our 3:30 p.m. public hearing, and I do not have, I apologize, the public hearing script for 3:30.
I can help you, Madam Chair, if you'd like.
1 second, sir. So we have some members of the public joining us in the boardroom right now. I will let them join. I got it. Is this something?
331.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, you got
Robin,
it.
Robin, yeah,
Great.
thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll just throw it away.
So for members of the public coming down, is everyone sitting down? If we can start, please quieting down so we can start this public hearing. So we are starting this public hearing. It is 3:02 p.m. The topic of this public hearing, please, members of the public, is the proposed Patterson Lake Management District number 23. The purpose of this public hearing is to accept and consider public comment on the proposed Patterson Lake Management District number 23. A board work session is scheduled for Wednesday, July 27th at 10 a.m. for the board to discuss comments heard today and to consider next steps in the Lake Management District formation process. The work session will be live streamed via YouTube for public who wish to follow the discussion. Should the board find following the public comment and discussion the formation of the Lake Management District is in the public's best interest, a vote of the affected properties may be authorized by the board. The instructions for this public hearing are as follows. This is a hybrid public hearing. Those wishing to testify have joined in person, by Zoom, emailed in comment, or mailed in comment. If you wish to testify, please visit the Thurston County homepage online and select announcements of public hearings on the left-hand side. The information to join this public hearing remotely has been posted there. If you do not wish to testify but would like to listen and follow along, please watch the live stream through the Thurston County YouTube channel to help us manage attendance. Tim Wilson, Water Resources Manager, and Paula Cracknell, Aquatic Resource Specialist, will provide information on this topic. Assuming those on Zoom wish to testify, I will read your name out loud. You will have 4 minutes to testify. Time may not be given to another person. When you are called on, please state your name and address for the record. The public hearing is now open. Tim and Paula will now present background information of the proposed amendment, written comments submitted, and any additional information requested by the board. Tim?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tim Wilson, Water Resources Manager with Public Works. Also have Paula Cracknell, our Aquatic Resource Specialist with Public Works, here today as well. So to provide some background on this topic, Patterson Lake residents petitioned for formation of a county-supported lake management district that met the requirements of RCW 3661, which establishes county's authority to establish LMDs and requires that at least 20% of the affected district acreage landowners sign a petition for consideration. The legal process for formation of a proposed LMD takes several months and includes multiple steps, including the passing of a resolution of intention to establish the LMD, a public hearing to hear community comments, authorization of a vote of landowners with affected properties, adoption of an ordinance establishing the LMD. The Board of County Commissioners passed a resolution of intention for establishment of the proposed district on June 21st, 2022. RCW 3661-030 requires the date for the public hearing shall be at least 30 days and no more than 90 days after the adoption of the resolution of intention unless an emergency exists. The board set a public hearing for July 26, 2022 at their June 21st meeting. Notice of public hearing was advertised in the Olympian on June 23rd and June 30th, 2022. Additionally, copies of the notice of public hearing were mailed to the addresses of all affected property owners, as well as the Washington State Departments of Ecology, Fish and Wildlife, and Natural Resources. Notice of public hearing was also posted on the county website. RCW 3661 requires the Board of County Commissioners, prior to passing a resolution of intention, and again prior to authorizing a community vote, to consider whether the formation of the proposed LMD appears to be both in the public interest and that the financing of the LMD maintenance activities are feasible. The criteria for making the considerations was discussed at a board briefing held on April 20th, 2022. If formed, an LMD creates a county-managed program directed by Public Works and supported by a county-managed advisory committee who provide input and information to Public Works on short and long-term management strategies. The county maintains staff who serve as technical experts regarding lake management activities. Thurston County LMDs are subject to all county-adopted policies and procedures and are required to align work plans to complement and support all board-adopted programs. Further, any LMD formed by the county will operate under the Thurston County Lake Management District Administrative Rules, which outline the relationship, roles, and responsibilities of the county and communities partnering under an LMD structure and help ensure work plans and lake management efforts remain in the public interest. If formed, management of the Pattison LMD would require an additional half full-time equivalent county employee depending upon components of the work plan. The purpose of the proposed LMD, as stated in the petition received by Thurston County, is to protect the water quality, fish and wildlife, recreation, and aesthetic values of Pattison Lake through the implementation of appropriate lake management programs. The PLMD is proposed for 10 years, beginning on January 1, 2023, and sunsetting on December 31, 2032. Per the petition, annual rates and charges will be used to raise funds to support PLMD activities. The estimated amount raised in rates and charges in 2023 would be $134,912. As mentioned by the board chair, a board work session is scheduled for 10 a.m. tomorrow, July 27th, which will be live streamed on the county YouTube channel. Should the board find, following public comment heard today and board discussion, the formation of the PLMD is in the public interest, a vote of the affected properties may be authorized by the board through adoption of a resolution of findings and determinations, which would be developed and presented by staff at a later date. As of this morning, 17 written comments have been received related to the proposed PLMD. The comments have been consolidated and forwarded to the clerk of the board for distribution. This concludes a staff summary related to the public hearing, and we would welcome any questions the board may have.
With that, we will start with questions. And we will start with Vice Chair Ty Menser.
Tim, on the scope of the properties that are included, we got into this a little bit this morning, and I was reading some of the written comment we've gotten. One comment, for example, talked about how they were quite a far away from the lake and didn't actually even know they had access to the lake. It was like through an unmaintained trail and a wetland, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess I'm just wondering where the board's role, it's thought that we're kind of just approving it for a vote, but if we take public comment and we want to move it forward, but we wanted to shift out some of the properties, just theoretically, is that something the board can do? Like put forward a vote on a slightly different petition, or would we have to reject the petition and then the petitioners make those adjustments and bring it back? How would that play out?
I believe the process for that would be that the board would reject this petition, send it back with some comments related to those subject properties. The petition would be resubmitted with a redrawn boundary, if that were the case, and then the board would consider at that time.
Thank you. I think that's the only question I'm going to ask now, and I think we'll go through more stuff tomorrow. Thank you.
I don't have any questions. As mentioned, we've had a lot of discussion about this. So with that, I know there are a lot of citizens here wishing to make public testimony. So we will start with the public testimony. I will go through the list that I have. We'll go through the in-person, everyone who signed up. And then after, if you didn't get a chance to sign up, I will still ask if there's anyone else in the boardroom who would like to provide testimony. Then we will move to the people waiting on Zoom. Our Assistant County Manager, Robin Campbell, will go through the names as I cannot see that far away. And we'll go from there. So with that, we will start with John Pettit.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Pettit. I don't live on Pattison Lake, but I grew up on Pattison Lake, right next to the boat launch. And I'm going to make a couple quick comments and notes of when I saw this particular issue coming up. I'm not opposed to a lake district. I'm not really sure that it's quite ready to move forward because the place where I grew up, right next to boat launches, there's a development. And that development, which I was partly involved in the process of building, well, it has a small section that is considered affected properties. There's about 72 acres additional, which has other houses on it, which is not included, and they have lake access. So when they say they have 20% of the acreage, if these other properties have lake access, much like Evergreen Shores on Black Lake, then they should also be included in the consideration. So I kind of question the acreage issue. I usually only want to make sure things are correct. I'm not for or against, but merely want it to be right. The affected parties, involved is obviously the ones that will be looking at paying the fee directly. But there is a little consideration that needs to be noted. Everyone in Thurston County that owns property that pays stormwater fees falls under the affected properties. And the reason why is because the stormwater fees are reduced for the people that are paying for the lake management district, which means that yes, me over on Rich Road am supplementing part of the cost involved. I personally would rather see if you really think 134,000 is going to touch something, I would rather see you just take it out of the stormwater fund rather than create a whole spot where some of these people are going to have to pay $500 a year extra fees for their individual houses. It's a public lake. It's owned by the state of Washington. The actual high water mark is where it's established as owned by the public. These people are subject to paying for improving public property as such because they live there. Once again, when you take money away from the stormwater for Thurston County in order to supplement this cost, it also means we need to raise our stormwater fees everywhere else. So everyone's affected. Two things, make sure the acreage is in full amount, that it isn't missing like the 72 acres I'm talking about. Two is determine whether or not, I'm thinking 134,000 isn't even going to touch fixing anything on the lake. So I would recommend take a good close look. And I do appreciate the idea it could go to a vote, but it will agitate people if it goes to a vote and they find out that the preparation to get it to a vote ended up being a nullification of the entire process to begin with. Thank you.
Next, I have Mark Meininger.
My name is Mark Meininger. I live at 7145 Mullen Road, Southeast in Olympia. I've been a Pattison Lake waterfront homeowner for 24 years, and I've witnessed a deterioration in the water quality. And like others, I've tried to study and research it the best I could to learn why it's happening. The short answer is nutrient pollution, and it's come about by a combination of factors, including excessive use of fertilizers, warmer water temperatures, stormwater runoff, poor erosion control, malfunctioning septic systems, improper waste disposal, and possibly contaminated groundwater. As nutrients accumulate, aquatic weeds take over faster than the ecosystem can handle, and stagnant zones are created. In Paterson, nuisance aquatic plants, including lily pads, continue to grow and encroach on our shorelines. They now cover a large portion of our lake, especially near the railroad bridge, but also around much of the lake's perimeter. It's reduced the enjoyment of swimming, access to boating, and presents safety issues as well. Some of my neighbors have tried hand pulling and raking, but they haven't been very successful. In fact, using these methods, the plants often come back in larger quantities. As nuisance and noxious plants die at the end of each season, they drop to the bottom of the lake where they decay and add to the muck layer on the bottom. Muck accumulates year after year, increasing nutrients and reducing the depth of our water, which in turn increases sunlight penetration. If we don't do anything, the cycle will continue over time until our lake favors plant life more than aquatic life. Then Paterson would have to become would then become a pond instead of a lake. Over the past few years, we've witnessed another byproduct of nutrient pollution, an increase in algae. Blue-green algae blooms make pets sick, make children sick, and even adults if they come into contact with the affected water or eat tainted fish. As you know, this is a serious health hazard and has led the state and county to prohibit fishing and swimming in our lake for weeks at a time. The Paterson Lake Association began meeting several years ago. Our mission is to work together as property owners to protect and enhance Paterson Lake's water quality and fish and wildlife to ensure that we and future generations can enjoy lake activities and waterfront living. Over the past few years, a steering committee is formed and met frequently to chart a way forward. Nobody wants to add to their property tax bill, so petitioning the county to become a lake management district was not a decision that we made lightly. But as we learned more and met with aquatic specialists and other LMD leaders, we realized that if we don't face reality, if we don't work together as a community, if we don't commit financially, then the health of our lake will continue to suffer. A Thurston County asset will suffer. So we've come to you. You too have a worthwhile mission. The mission of the Board of County Commissioners is to create a community that promotes health, commerce, and environmental protection with transparency and accountability. We need your help. We not only need you to approve our petition, but we need you to we'd like to start solving the problem sooner rather than later. We know you're busy, but whatever you can do to help us expedite the process would be appreciated by many in our association. We thank you for listening and thank you for your commitment to our community.
Thank you. Next is Pamela Holsinger.
We'll see if my timing is as good, Mark. Extemporaneous speech here. I'm Pamela Holsinger Fuchs, and I live at 7814 Kelly Beach Road. We just started our 8th year of living on the lake. My husband's dream, his whole life was to live on water, so we moved here from Wisconsin. We only looked at properties on the water. We walked down the hill to our property, and a fisherman pulled a trout out in front of us right as we were walking down. Our real estate agent joked and said, "I'll pay you later." It was what sold us on it. My husband's an avid fisherman. We know the state stocks that lake with about 35,000 fish. Fortunately, right now, we aren't able to eat them because we have a toxic algae bloom that has made it dangerous for us to go there. I have a little granddaughter that spends 2 days a week with me. We aren't able to take her down to the lake because of this lovely green looking paint that's everywhere on our lake. We pay for yard waste now. I found out that by putting my compost down by the lake, I was probably adding to the phosphorus that was going in there. I go down and do what my daughters joke about, which is mucking out the lake, which many of us do, trying to deal with it ourselves, but I'm one person and I'm unable to save the lake by myself. I retired from St. Martin's University. I have a lot of friends that are faculty members, biologists, and we really need their expertise to help us figure this out. A lot of individuals want to dump different things on the lake and try to deal with it themselves, and we really need the expertise of people like Paula Cracknell to make that happen safely. I know that some of my neighbors are retired. I am retired now too, and they're worried about the taxes. We know that there is an option to be able to, if you're on a fixed income, fill out a form and get those reduced. And so in sharing that with them, that's made them comfortable in knowing that they want to save the lake for the future and for ourselves. We have seen it decrease in water quality. We know that's only going to get worse. But we have 96-degree temperatures for this week. It usually we haven't seen this happening, the degradation of the water this early. It generally has happened later in August, so it's happening earlier and earlier. The lake needs us. It needs us to help it. And those of us that are in this room, many of us are willing to have the taxes given that are needed so that we can do that. We know 135,000 isn't going to be the answer immediately, but if we can consistently over 10 years continue to work on this. We had the opportunity to have Long Lake come and talk to us, and they felt like had they not done their lake management district 25 years ago, that they would have a much worse situation. We feed into that lake too, so we continue to contribute to Long Lake's kind of degradation by not dealing with our own situation. So thank you. I hope that you'll vote positively, and I support the lake management district.
Tim, did you?
Apologies, Commissioner. I did want to clarify the question that Commissioner Menser asked earlier. I think I probably got people very excited about that in a bad way. I did look at the RCWs, and the board would have the authority to amend the boundaries of the proposed district. They cannot increase it, but they can decrease it without rejecting the petition. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. Commissioner Menser, did you hear that, sir?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Moving
Tim.
on. As I'm going through this, I also apologize if I butcher your name. I'm not doing it on purpose. So next, Rob Peters.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Rob Peters. I live at 8105 58th Avenue Southeast. I've lived at that property since 2017, July of 2017, and I have noticed that what I've seen over the last 5 years as far as weeds in the lake, toxicity has exponentially increased. So one of the things that happened is I just retired from state government, and it was in March of 2020 when the governor mandated that we all work from home. So my wife and I both work for the state. We were both working at home. We went for a walk at lunchtime, and as we're taking our walk, we see this really nice truck and this really nice boat going out to go fishing. Elderly gentleman by himself, and thought, man, he's going to have a great day. And so about 5 o'clock, I heard some commotion. My wife is yelling at me to call 911. For whatever reason, his boat got away from him when he was loading it back on his trailer. He thought he could swim out after it. He got caught in the reeds and drowned. So I did not see it, but I was the one that called 911. My wife saw him go under for his last breath. Now, if you don't think that's traumatic for somebody to see, then that's a problem, because we have to have safe environments. We have to have a lake that's not going to get people's feet tangled up, because we know that when they get tangled up, they panic and they don't know what to do. So unfortunately, we lost a life. As I said, I just retired. I had a party on Saturday. They couldn't go in the lake, right, because of the toxic algae. right? And so it was really warm. I have no shade, no trees. I had to get a tent to keep everybody protected from the sun. And it was not fun for my guests knowing that, oh, we're going to go to a lake. And it just didn't happen because of the algae bloom right now. I have a pontoon boat. If I take the pontoon boat out, I have to stop. I have to raise the motor. I have to scrape the weeds off my propeller because it's so thick. It's dangerous for me to reach over with a rake to grab it off the propeller to get those weeds off. So I just, this is something that's really important to us. And I hear everybody, they're going to raise taxes. I'm not happy about it, but you know what? I want a safe lake. This is a lake that I pay for. It's managed by the state, but it's not managed well. And so we can get some help, managing this lake and cleaning it up for the fish and the wildlife and the children of future generations, right? We got to think about the future also. Thank you.
Apologize for members on Zoom. Barry Halvorson is next.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Barry Halvorson, and I'm a member of the Lake Lawrence Lake Management District. I'm here today to support the application of Patterson Lake to become a lake management district. I would like to thank you for moving this process along. As you know, I have been a staunch advocate of the lake management districts and lake and river water quality for years, and believe they are the only way that you, as county leadership, can have any control over the chemicals that are put in our lakes to treat the nuisance and invasive weeds that are taking over our lakes and are the primary cause of the increase in toxic algae incidents throughout Thurston County. Without lake management districts, any HOA or individual can use any chemical authorized by Washington State Department of Ecology versus only the 2 currently authorized by Thurston County. And those 2 authorized by Thurston County are the least harmful and target only specific weeds. Additionally, LMDs in Thurston County have and will continue to have the responsibility to have an in-depth lake management study conducted prior to use of any of these chemicals by way of an integrated aquatic vegetative management plan, an IVAMP, something your 2 currently established lake management districts have done for decades. And contrary to what you have been told, heard, or understand, we follow the guidance of our IVAMP. To address Mr. Pettit's testimony, reduced stormwater fees take into account 2 different things. That lakes act as the largest stormwater receptacle in the area. Stormwater produces approximately 70% of the hazardous chemicals that lakes receive. Lake management districts, therefore, help provide the funding to counter that. 2, as a requirement to receive stormwater fee reductions, the LMDs are required to take action to educate residents and reduce harmful chemicals from entering their lakes. This benefits all citizens of the county and the state. I would just like to encourage you to approve this process to move forward. And I thank you for your continued support of lake management programs. Thank you, Commissioners.
Next, Daniel Lowe.
My name is Daniel Lowe, and I'm speaking in support of the proposed LMD. I've lived on North Patterson Lake for 37 years. We citizens who live around Patterson Lake inadvertently put all kinds of bad stuff in the lake, and it causes problems with water quality, plant growth, and algae blooms. I am sure lawn fertilizer, septic leakage, stormwater runoff, and who knows what else goes into the lake. It is time for us to take some responsibility for offsetting and positively impacting these problems. There are those who speak against the LMD because it might treat these lake problems with chemicals. But science has developed effective and safe treatment options over the years in other lakes. I don't like putting chemicals in the lake either. but we need to push back against the problems that we have created. Treatments have been tried and tested in other lakes, so we should not fear the science. We can expect the results of the LMD to be a net positive for Patterson Lake. I support the LMD, and I urge the commissioners to support water quality in Thurston County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Larry Flynn.
Commissioner Mejia, if I may interject for just a moment, just to make a brief announcement to anyone who may be joining for the 3:30 public hearing regarding the CPACER program. That public hearing will commence as soon as the board has completed the public hearing that is going on now.
Thank you.
That may be a little while.
It's already 3:30. Thank you. Okay, so moving on, Larry Flynn. Okay. Leah Flynn. Okay. Saba Mullinax?
Good afternoon, Commissioner and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chubba Molnar, and I live on 7745 Atchison Drive, Southeast. And we've been there.
Can you please speak on the microphone so we?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So we've been there since 2013. I'm actually a refugee from Hungary, and my parents came here to actually live a better life. And I grew up here, served 2 tours in Vietnam, and came back, and fortunately were able to purchase a home here on Lake Patterson. When we purchased the property, we purchased a pretty rundown double-wide trailer, but the lake was beautiful. So I have grandchildren, and we enjoy the water. My grandchildren come out to enjoy the water, and we enjoy the wildlife and try to make sure that we have a nice place for my children to inherit. Right now, where we're unable to actually use the water anymore. I probably spend, and I actually have a couple photographs that I could share with anyone that would like to see here, where I have fish that I pull out of the water. I spend at least, I'm going to say 3 to 4 hours. I am retired, fortunately. And I spend 3 to 4 hours a day trying to clean out the water. I have skimmers, and I skim the top of the water. I have rakes, and I try to clean the water out, but to no avail. So we have boaters that go by, and I'm a friendly kind of guy, and I will say, hey, how are you doing? Did you catch the big one yet? And response is, well, if there wasn't so much crap in the water, maybe I could catch some big ones. So the water has just deteriorated on the lake since 2013 so much that it's almost unusable. And I'm asking for the people that are here and the homeowners and the commissioners to try to do whatever we can in getting this LMD incorporated so that we can get some clean water and have enjoyment. And again, this is not only for the people that live on the lake, but again, as I mentioned, the fishermen and women, the boaters, the people can no longer come out there and enjoy themselves because there's so much algae and weeds. And again, now it seems like the majority of the time, the lake is closed. So it's not even an option anymore that you can go out into the water. So I'm just asking, the people that support and the commissioners to help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Chris Mon.
Thank you, Commissioner Mejia. I appreciate this opportunity to speak in support of the formation of the Lake Management District. I live at 7639 Atchison Drive. My name is Chris Maun, spelled M-A-U-N. And my wife and I have lived on a waterfront house on Patterson Lake since 1994, so that's been 28 years. We raised our son there, and that was great because particularly in summer weather like this, we were like the hub of activity. His friends just flocked over our house because we had a canoe, multiple kayaks. They spent hours in the lake swimming and boating and exploring the lake. And I don't think that would be as possible at quite the same level if he were to be growing up now. Because, for example, last week we had the blue-green toxic algae where it went over the acceptable standards of microtoxins, so you're not supposed to swim in the lake, even though we're in the hottest part of the summer. So I've seen in that 28 years a marked decrease in the water quality and absolutely an increase in weed growth, and most troubling of all is the blue-green algae blooms that we are having and suffering from more repeatedly. So I would like to say that by not making management, deciding not to manage the lake, you are actually in de facto deciding a management strategy, which would be hands-off. But I know from experience that I have the full faith and confidence in Thurston County's highly professional water resources and public works staff to work as partners with the residents of the lake, as well as other involved citizens to help, improve our water quality. So that's why I thoroughly have complete confidence in the county's ability to help improve the situation through the approving the Lake Management District. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Wayne Borkowski.
My name is Wayne Borkowski. I'm at 7548 Fair Oaks Road, the south side of the lake. And I've been a resident so far, I think I'll set the record at 43 years. Raised my daughter there. We've had a lot of parties there, 4th of July, birthday parties, not just our family, but friends. So it's a lake for everyone. We have a public boat launch. I kayak on the lake. I see people constantly coming, although less now than in the past. I've noticed, like many people, a marked deterioration in the lake, especially the last 5 or 10 years. For many years, the lake was in wonderful shape, but then we started having the weed problem, the toxic algae bloom problem, and the use of it has been restricted many times because of that. I heard an earlier speaker, and I grew up in the inner city of Chicago, and when we needed to get some relief in the hot summers, because we didn't have air conditioning when I was a kid, we'd go to the lakes in northern Illinois, we'd go to the lakes up in Wisconsin. And I too had the dream of living on a lake, and I enjoyed that dream for many years. That dream isn't quite as good over the last few years. There are people that are not asking for a free ride. We don't want anybody else to pay for this. I know it's going to raise my taxes and my neighbors' taxes. We're willing to do that to save this lake. Our environment is deteriorating. It's deteriorating not just in Patterson Lake, but we can see that nationwide. And at least we can do something about the area we live in. And I'm really happy the commissioners have agreed to move forward with these public hearings, to listen to the citizens, and to consider not just now, but what about the future? It was mentioned here how in the future, if we let this go the way it is, it's going to end up being a nightmare, I think, for anyone who would like to use the lake and lives in this area. Some people may oppose this, and I know I pay my taxes. There's certain things I pay taxes on I don't utilize, like paying for the schools. I'm happy to do it. There's certain things I pay taxes on I don't agree with. But if the majority is interested in funding that, I'll pay for it, because I know we can't get 100% agreement on anything in this country, let alone 60% agreement on anything in this country. So we need to save our lake for future generations. And I think there's a lot of people who live on this lake who have a lot of knowledge. I trust the commissioners will monitor their staff. I don't think anybody is going to put poisons or toxic things that will harm the wildlife or the citizens or the animals in the area. And so I guess you can tell I'm very much in favor of this lake management district. I look forward to the day when my taxes might be raised and we can do something to stop what we've seen up to now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Adina Gardner.
Hi, I'm Adina Gardner. I live at 7336 Fair Oaks Road. Fairly a newbie there. This is my 4th year on the lake. I do support this lake management district and hope you do as well. I am concerned about the health of the lake, of course, as everyone else has said. In terms of course, water quality, and maintaining the native flora and fauna around the lake and removing the invasive species. And I trust that those involved know what they're doing with that regard. I'm also very concerned about, of course, the community's health and the ability to use the lake, especially with regards to the pollutants and high nitrogen levels that are creating our toxic algae conditions. So my hope is that this management will pinpoint and take steps to alleviate the source of the pollutants, in addition to annual lake treatment that will clearly be necessary. I'm also concerned about the safety of the community with regards to the toxic algae notification. I, for one, just from my own experience, found out that I shouldn't use the lake. I'm on the side where all the wind is blowing it to a nice little toxic green rainbow on our side of the lake. And but before you can actually see it, when the notice went out, I found out from my neighbor on the water side who sent me a link to the Olympian article, and that was sent to her from someone else. So we were all very surprised that this was going on. And I think the assumption is that whoever is in charge of notifying us will just stick fat signs around on our ends of our roads so that the whole community can see. And I found out that Thurston County Health is limited to just posting a sign at the boat dock. And we as citizens are supposed to just call them and get notifications sent to us, and that we can't add additional signage to those that might be visiting. We've got a lot of short-term beach rentals and a lot of traffic from people who aren't familiar. So the Lake Management District would take great steps to improving prompt communication to more of the residents in our community who are actively using the lake and not maybe visually seeing that they shouldn't be. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Dan Jorgensen. Next, Jane Applin.
Good afternoon. My name is Jane Appling. I live at 7452 Fair Oaks Road. Thank you for holding this public hearing and allowing us to express our views and feelings around the Lake Management District. I am here in support of the Lake Management District. I'm amending my comments in light of what's been said before. I don't think I have a great deal to add to the very articulate testimony that you've heard already this afternoon. I do want to say that we all know that not just our lake, but all the lakes in Thurston County are a tremendous public asset, a community resource used widely by very diverse people. We are very concerned at the pace at which they are changing and are anxious to do what we can. The Lake Management District structure is the one that's available to us as citizens to organize and to supplement and to work with the county and with our environment to try to protect and preserve the health and the long life of these tremendous resources. So thank you. I hope that you and the other commissioners will support this vote for the Lake Management District.
Thank you. Next, Mark Algae.
Thank you. I am Mark Algae, 7330 Fair Oaks Road, Southeast. And thank you, you got my name right. Been a homeowner on Pattison Lake since about April of '06. and used to enjoy the lake quite a bit. Haven't been able to do that a lot lately. I'm all in favor of keeping the health of the lake a top priority so that the homeowners that live on the lake can enjoy it as well as the public. I do have one concern, really, or a couple, is the boundary issue, right? If that gets squared away, I'm good with that. However, the results we've seen at other lakes with the Lake Management District, Hicks, Long Lake, they still have issues. They're still being closed down. So that's my only concern, you know, putting in this money and the extra taxes, which I'm for if it cures the problem so that we can enjoy the lake again. If we're going to continue to have issues after the lake management is enacted, then, you know, I don't know what good that would be. But then that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Paula Lowe.
Hi, I'm Paula Lowe. I live at 5202 Rumack Street Southeast. I support the Pattison LMD. I have lived on Pattison Lake for 37 years in the North Basin, and I've watched the water quality slowly degrade, especially the last 5 years. Algae blooms are increasing, which means toxic algae blooms are increasing as well. This week's algae bloom is especially frustrating because we are experiencing 90-degree weather and we can't cool off in the lake. I like to swim across the lake, kayak, sail, and float in the lake during our short summers. I'm disappointed that I can't use the lake during the peak season. Toxic algae is nature's natural contaminant. It is dangerous to humans, domestic pets, and fish and wildlife. We need to study why the nitrogen and phosphorus are increasing in our lake, causing our plants to grow rampantly. Our Pattison Lake Management District calls for more in-depth water quality testing to understand where the nutrients are coming from. We have several noxious plants that are overtaking the lake, such as water lilies and yellow flag iris. We can dig out the water lilies along the shoreline, as one of our residents mentioned, but when they grow in deeper waters, we can't reach the roots or tubers. The best we can do is pull off the tops, but the roots are embedded in the sediment and they will grow again. We have mats of submerged weeds that are dangerous to boaters and swimmers. Boaters have to stop to remove their paddles, oars, or motors to remove their weeds. And we've already heard about one drowning at the lake. I wouldn't be surprised, unfortunately, if there are more. I would love to see the weeds cleaned up, so that's not a concern. As lake residents and stewards of Pattison Lake, our lake residents are willing to tax their property to address concerns for our lake's health. The LMD will benefit not only lake property owners, but the public who uses the lake through the Fish and Wildlife public boat launch. Cleaner water will also benefit the fish and wildlife. Cleaning up the lake benefits the county, providing a clean environment for its citizens. For the past 2 years, our Pattison Lake Management District leadership team has met with lake residents regarding the proposed Pattison Lake Management District. Nearly 300 lake residents have attended meetings and listened to speakers talk about lake ecology. Our petition had far more than the minimum number of signatures to express their support for the LMD. I urge you to support the Pattison Lake Management District so we can address our algae blooms and, with the help of the county scientist, improve our lake water quality. I also urge you to move this LMD along quickly so we can start our integrated aquatic management plan next spring. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Brian Morehead.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Muirhead. My wife and I live on the south part of the lake. And there about almost 2 years now. And our address is 6527 Alternate Lane. I'm going to focus on the same things that many have already talked about, which is the toxic algae blooms and the noxious weed growth, which the LMD is designed to help manage. The Washington State Toxic Algae Freshwater Monitoring Program has been looking at Patterson Lake for 12 years now. Of 11 of those 12 years, there has been evidence of blooms. And in 8 of those 11 years, there have been toxic levels. And in a couple of years, there were as many as 8 or 9 instances of toxic algae bloom. So I think as others have recognized, this is a persistent problem that we need to do something about. I wrote a letter to the commissioners that enumerates some of the details that I've studied associated with techniques to eliminate or to at least to try to manage the bloom problem, and there is experience obviously in Thurston County and particularly at Long Lake in using those techniques. But those techniques have been around for literally decades in North America. I bought a microscope for my grandson, who's a really budding young scientist, so we could explore the microscopic world around us. And looking at the lake water is particularly interesting. So one day when there was an algae bloom, I took a sample and we went in and looked at it. When you look at the cyanobacteria, they're very active and they're actually quite exciting to watch. But as we were looking at it, I reminded him that these are extremely dangerous living things. And and that's why you're not able to go swimming today, you and your sister. So the situation we're in, I fear, is that in the increasingly warm seasons that we're seeing, and we'll continue to see, that the lake the issues with the lake will accelerate. The eutrophic conditions that we already have will just get worse. And at some point, we won't be able to use the lake at all. With respect to the noxious weeds, many people have talked about it, but around our dock this last summer, there was over an acre of pondweed with algae growing on it. I did what I could to manage it, but we had a beautiful wedding planned, and I couldn't really improve the quality of the look. It was really rather embarrassing to see how bad things looked out on our lake for this very special event. There was another instance where I was out on the dock looking around, and I saw a neighbor with his boat and his family trapped in the pondweed algae mess that we had. And I called out and said, can I help you? He said, yes, please. So I came over in our boat and pulled him out. I really wonder what would have happened if I hadn't been there and seen what they were going through, because they were really, really quite stuck. So we believe, my wife and I believe very strongly in the creation of this LMD, because we believe it's the only way to safely, effectively improve the quality of the water. As others have said, there are some people who don't seem to understand the facts associated with how much trouble our lake is in, and have repeatedly and publicly made misleading and false statements that we need about the problems and the solutions. So we believe very strongly that the county, with its leadership, working with the Lake Management District, can bring the best science, the experience, and the resources the LMD provides, the funding, to improve the water quality. We request that the county commissioners act to establish the LMD as early as possible in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Diane Peck.
Hello, I'm Diane Peck. I live on 5038 Rumack Street Southeast. And my husband and I bought property 26 years ago. It was my dream as a little girl to live on the water, have a horse, and then get married. And all those dreams came true. And after I ride my horse in 95-degree weather, I just want to come home and jump in the lake, but I can't. And I have this great little dog. Many of you have probably watched me. I used to swim across the lake every day, especially when we first bought the property in the house. I would swim every day across the lake and back, half a mile. My little dog, when I got him 12 years ago, he swam with me. I put a little life jacket on him. He's a little 20-pound Toto. And he goes with me, but now we don't. After I started swimming, and there was weeds tickling my belly as I was swimming, and it freaked me out. I didn't know what was touching me in the lake. And then it just got worse, and it got creepy. So I'm like afraid to go in the lake. And anyway, so then I started paddleboarding. But even then, I have to take my dog because he loves to go with me. And I can't because he'll get in the water and drink it off the side of the board and he'll die. So anyway, it's really sad. So you haven't seen me paddleboard or swim across the lake, many of you that are my neighbors. And it's just really sad because we invite people over again, like we had a party, and it's embarrassing to tell them we can't go paddleboarding or we can't use the lake that we live on, which I was using every day, and I can't. And now that I'm retired and we're expecting our first grandchild, it's really sad because we won't be able to take little Lily out in the lake. So anyway, I support the management district, and please, if you can, act upon it as quickly as possible. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Adamson?
Hi there, Commissioners. Doug Adamson, 7510 Fair Oaks Road, Northeast. Nice to see so many of my neighbors here. I'm here to let you know that I'm sad. I'm sad because I'm a foster parent and we lose opportunities for kids when they cannot go on the lake. It's pretty amazing to be a foster parent, to see kids flourish when they get these opportunities, but it is completely lost when we can't take the kids out of the lake. I'm sad for the entire community that uses this lake for fun. When we see these toxic algae advisories, the lake shuts down. And really, the entire region's quality of life is diminished by this. Maybe I shouldn't have opened with being a foster parent. You know, we heard a little bit about the lake weeds that are out there. It's scary. I'm an expert swimmer, and it is amazing. It is scary to see some of those things that are out there. You know, I think about what we're doing today, and it's not just for us, for future generations. We really take care of our lake. Many of us have gone as far as we can go. Right now, we need the extra step, and I really hope you let the citizens decide. We support our best practices approach for improving this resource. So right now, on the hottest day of the year, we're not putting a foot on the lake. It's one of the reasons why I'm sad. So we collectively support the Patterson Lake Management District. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the names I have on the sign-up sheet. Is there anyone in the boardroom? I see 2 hands. We'll start here and then we'll go over there. Ma'am?
Sorry, I must have put my name on the wrong list. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you very much for hearing us today. I'm here to advocate for the establishment.
Could you state your name for the record?
I'm sorry. Leanne Burkford, 5700 Pattison Lake Drive. We're in the North Basin on the west side of the lake. We've been part of the lake community, relatively new members. We bought a derelict, abandoned building in 2016. The first thing that we did was to replace an aging septic drainage system, with the awareness that what we did on this property would affect not only us, but our neighbors and the surrounding environment. We've heard a lot about the aesthetics on the lake, the diminishing aesthetics, the safety issues. So I'd like to maybe touch on a couple of new points. The first being that this is not about people wanting to have private lakeside luxury that is just for themselves, but this is about 3 lakes, actually. Hicks Lake, Long Lake, and Pattison Lake are integrally involved environmentally. There is water flow between all the lakes, and therefore water quality is impacted from one lake to another. This also impacts wildlife, which we have not heard too much about today. The lake supports not only the fish that we've heard about, which are diminishing, even though the lake is planted regularly, but it affects all of those in the environmental chain in wildlife that depend on those fish. We have a varied population of waterfowl. We have otter, we have beaver, and we have next to us privilege of having a nesting eagle pair. This is their 4th year on the lake. And because of the diminishing supply of fish and water quality, we're concerned about all of the wildlife. So thank you. I just again want to say that I believe that a public-private partnership would be the most effective way that we can improve Pattison Lake and also make all 3 of our lakes in this county area, which has tremendous impact on many citizens, not just lakefront owners, and make a positive environmental impact in the quality of water, the stability of the ecosystem, and our wildlife in the area. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, him, and then I'll get you, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to speak about the Pattison Lake Management District. Also, for the record, my name is David Nightingale. I live at 7640 Fair Oaks Road Southeast on Pattison Lake for the last 10 years, and I've owned that property since the mid-1990s. I also wanted to commend your staff, specifically Paula Cracknell, on her very valuable assistance in educating myself as well as the Pattison Lake community. She's just done an extraordinary job in educating us on the science and the history of lake management in Washington, so we very much appreciate that. A little background, I've worked in the environmental protection field since 1987, and as a consultant both for the Washington Department of Ecology as well as a consultant for many years. And my work is mainly focused on waste management, but really a lot of the waste management activity is about protecting water resources, and obviously lake management is one of those water resources. For instance, in a consulting role, I helped to design the Hassel House at the Thurston County Waste and Recovery Center, one of my projects. So personally, I think that everybody I've talked to in the community with the lake management organizing group and others, they really want to just do the right thing, and we just need your help in getting that done. I haven't heard a lot of objections, really, strenuously from anybody here, and so in looking at the law, it says this is to receive objections, and of course, most of the people are speaking to not object, but to encourage you to go forward. I'm going to very briefly just talk about 2 things that are related to the environment and safety. They've also already been mentioned, and I will be way under my time, hopefully, when I'm done here. So when toxic blooms occur, such as this week, we can't safely swim or eat the fish from the lake. With the necessary water quality testing protocol, this means that each time that happens, we lose multiple weeks of recreation opportunities. So it's both a safety issue as well as an aesthetic issue. We want to reduce future closures, and my understanding is that it's a nutrient management, as other people have mentioned, and Lake Management District should help to address that going forward. So I support Pattison Lake Management District because of that. It will help us to study how we can reduce the blooms using the best current science and using the integrated aquatic vegetation management plan as required by the county. So that's one thing, that algae blooms, and the other is the weed issues that other people have talked about already. I'm worried just from a safety standpoint, as a couple of prior speakers were mentioning about actually swimming in the lake, which I like to do, and it's just, it is creepy, and it is unsafe, and a lot of what I do professionally is around safety. Chemical safety, in this case it's weed safety. So I encourage you to let this go forward, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm David Lynch. I live at 7625 Atchison Court, which is at the end of Carpenter. You cross the tracks, and Atchison Drive goes around, and if you go straight up to the top of the hill, that's our greenhouse on the top. That used to be the old bait shop for Patterson Lake, built in 1903, and we've totally rebuilt the house, starting at about 2013. In fact, I've got a permit with the county from 2013, and they told me this year I have to be finished with it. So we're still rebuilding our house. But as part of my routine, I swim every day, and I can't swim in the lake. So I have to drive down to the Y just to get in my swim. And we're rebuilding the dock out in front, and now the lily pads go out so far in front of our property that if we made a dock 50 feet long, we'd still be in lily pads. So, you know, I had some direct experience with the environment. I used to think that, oh, everybody's so worried about the lake, you know. So, well, I had all these blackberries and bamboo out in the front. So I got this guy with a little mini excavator to come and tear this stuff out. I got red tagged. Okay, so I had to get a permit to plant the area and take care of, you know, these invasive species that were growing there. I've spent $8,000 so far, and I've gotten a great education in why we need to take care of our property that borders the lake, why that 50 feet from the lake is so important to the health of the lake. And I don't mind paying the money because I have an environmentally safe property now. And I feel, you know, now that I've had to follow the rules, I understand why the rules are there and why we need to take care of our lake. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go with, and then, okay. Yeah.
Commissioners, I'm totally in favor of the Lake Management District for Patterson Lake. I kind of have a unique perspective in the fact
Can you state your name for the record and your address, please?
Paul Bogle. I actually live on Long Lake, but have a rental home on Patterson Lake. It's a family home that my dad bought in 1959, so I grew up on the lake. And when I was in the 70s, we actually would drink from the lake once in a while. Probably not the best thing to do, but it was clean enough that you could do that, and you could do that in the middle of the summertime. It wasn't, never gave anybody any problems, and nobody would do that today. The lake, growing up on it, it was fishing, swimming, all throughout the year, the hottest summers. I would just stay down there. My parents would leave me when I was 15 years old and just let me stay there because it was a safe place to be, and a lot of that's changed. I've been on Long Lake since the 90s, and I've seen the Lake Management District and what Paul has done, and they do a fantastic job. It's not perfect, and every year there's new things that come along, and if you don't do anything, I guarantee you that you won't have a lake to enjoy. Long Lake had milfoil, Patterson Lake had milfoil. If we hadn't addressed that, they'd be swamps right now. So I think the best thing to do for people is to look at the history of the lakes, and you see the issues that have come up, and if you don't address them, you won't have those places to enjoy anymore. I'm pretty passionate about it. I love Patterson Lake still. I bought the house so my family could continue to use it. Special circumstances to help somebody, so they're renting it right now, and as soon as they're gone, we're going to have it back so my family hopefully can enjoy the lake again. But if we don't do anything, I'm just afraid of what's going to happen to it. The other thing that I would say as a perspective of that, like I said, my family's been there since had the home since 1959. But you could go out there any summer day, people are laughing, just having a great time and enjoying the lake. And you don't see that anymore like you used to. So it has affected a lot of the quality of life. And it's not just the people that live on the lake, but it's the surrounding community, Thurston County, the whole state of Washington. So I really hope this goes through and that we can get a start at least on addressing the issues in the lake. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charles Butler, live at 4918 Rumack Street. Just a little bit of history. We have this property we owned since 1989. And used to be so clean. Used to have people on the lake all the time. Used to be able to fish all the time. Used to pull fish out of the lake all the time, swim across the lake all the time. And what kept it pretty much clean, and I know some of you have been here this long, is we used to have the lake machine. Remember the lake machine used to go around the lake and clean that up? But, you know, us owners would go down and all the weeds would come into the beach or to your property. We have to pick it up. But at least it kept the lake clean somewhat. But that has gone away. And ever since then, every year it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And now you fish and you're not catching trout or salmon or anything else. You're catching weeds, you know. And every day, well, at least 2-3 times a week, I see boaters out there and getting stuck down over the trestle. Those lily pads down there, it's just getting big and big and wider, and just, it's just uncontrollable. So what can we do? I mean, I've seen people, homeowners out there, raking the stuff in. I mean, just to let you guys know, we have a bed frame that's down on our beach, and I throw that sucker right in there and try to pull that in, and it still comes right back. But, you know, for at least 2 months, at least it's somewhat clean, you know, but it's not enough. Now, we're at the hottest days of the year. We're in our 90s, and we got people that want to go and jump in the water. And we can't even do that. We can't even have our pets in the water. And, you know, just as of yesterday, in fact, I saw a couple swimmers out there, and I said, hey, just to warn you guys, the lake is toxic. Oh, okay. And they just kept on swimming. It's like, what can we do? You know, I mean, it's so, and that's another thing is notices, you know. We got to have more notification. If the lakes is going to become toxic, we got to get notified sooner. What can we do to get this fixed? So I do support the Lake Management District, but I will say this: if we're going to fork out money, I don't mind paying out taxes. I don't mind paying out on a fee every year, but it has to make a difference. You know, it has to start. I don't want to start paying money to where money we don't see nothing. You know, if I pay out $500 a year or $600 a year, or my property tax goes up, but nothing's being done, there's nothing testing, no machines or nothing, then what's the point? So as a community, all of us here, we have to step up. We have to take control. We have to fight this because, you know what, we are going to lose our lake if nothing's going to happen. We don't do anything about it, we are going to lose that lake. And I will tell you this, our property used to be the resort, the Mullen Resort. And we have pictures in our house that we used to have slides, they used to have kayaks, they have boaters out there. You know, we can't even have that no more. So I support this, but needs to make it happen and needs to make it fast. Thank you very much.
Anyone else in the boardroom? Okay, with that, I'll get him and then I'll get you.
My name is Rob Banner at 7753 Atchison Drive Southeast. I've lived out there for about 18 years, and I haven't noticed a huge difference in the amount of water lilies and reeds that grow in front of my place. I occasionally cut and rake, and only where I need to. I enjoy the habitat that all that provides, the wildlife, the dragonflies, all the things that eat the bugs that come out of the water from that vegetation. And, you know, I hear stories now of people drowning in it. I mean, what do we want, a swimming pool? Do you want just clear water, bare ground, a swimming pool? Find one. But where we live, we want it. We want to be there because it's a natural place. I have not seen a decrease in eagles. I don't know about the fish counts and where those numbers are coming from. I'm not saying I don't support finding out how we can keep the lake from having more toxic algae blooms. We have to consider what we are willing to do to get the water the way you want it. Now, some of these, the chemicals that are approved, I don't know which of the Thurston County Department of Health approve in our area, but rodeo, which is basically the underwater Roundup, is a glyphosate, is a carcinogen correlated with higher risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and it's been found recently from the University of Cambridge that it damages Daphnia, which is a type of water insect, which is kind of the bottom of the food chain, kind of the heart of the aquatic food web. And they don't thrive when that's supplied. And once it is, what's the guarantee that the invasive species won't come back? You know, how are they gonna do that? And all of this is out of our hands once we vote for it. So I don't know if there's a way to get more information, but for everyone who's involved, I want them to consider what we're willing to do to get what you want. And do you value, you say you talk about health, but what is health when you're swimming in this stuff that's poison? And how long do they close the lake for when they poison it? Is it longer than toxic algae bloom? I don't have that information, but I would suggest to everyone to check it out. And there's another herbicide that 2,4-D, also known as AquaClean, highly toxic to fish, and it reduces the survival rate of ducks and other waterfowl. Now, I don't know if they use that 2,4-D, but I would hate to see that used just so we don't have to trim the front of our waterfront as much. So. The other thing is, for about the cost of 1 year of this tax, each house could get a bubbler, an aerator, or a propeller that goes underwater that effectively creates a water flow that keeps the weeds from planting their roots into the ground. Once you've cut it and pull them out, it really helps a lot, and it gets that scum back out in the lake where it can go somewhere else. But there are other ways to do it, and I hope just putting poison in the water isn't the first course of action. So, thank you. Well, there are de-icers.
Excuse me, we're not going to have debate.
There are things for well under $1,000. Look up lake de-icers. They run relatively low current, and I think you'll all be happy with the aesthetic results that it'll provide. And what we define as health may not be the same for what the lake sees as healthy. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll be very brief. I'm Julia Stenner. I live at 5303 Atchison Drive, Southwest. And I believe in science. I get my drinking water from a 10-foot hand-dug well, basically the lake. I really need this lake to be safe for people and animals. Some time ago, I met a county official at a fundraiser, and I had expressed my deep concern about Long Lake, because I'd gone down there and it was, I wouldn't put my hand in it. There was so much goo and stuff growing in it. And he said, oh, you don't need to worry about that. That's because they have a sod farm up the aquifer. Well, if that was the case, then this is not a solution that just a few neighbors can handle. This is a solution that a scientist needs to look at. They need to look at the aquifer and where are these nitrates and phosphates coming from. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else in the boardroom? Okay, with that, we will move on to Zoom. Robin Campbell will assist in calling the people who are attending via Zoom.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Before I begin, I would say once again that immediately following this hearing, we will have the public hearing on the CPACER program, and I appreciate everyone for both public hearings who have hung with this and expressed your opinions. So to continue, first I will call Kristen Jensen.
No comment on this, just observing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next I have Kaylin McCrea.
No comment, thank you.
Thank you. Margaret Tudor.
Yes, thank you. Honorable, let's see, I've got a problem here. Honorable Commissioners, I wanted to present to you my concern about the lake. We and our neighbors have worked very hard to be good stewards of the lake. We avoid using fertilizer, we rake in weeds, we dispose of them properly, we take care of the system. And in the past, we've collected water quality data as citizen scientists for ecology. We really care. But we know we cannot achieve lake health on our own. And we're not looking for a swimming pool. That's not our goal. We cannot achieve this lake health on our own. We, that is the county and lakefront owners, we need to work together to get the professional scientific help. Now, we live on North Basin of Patterson Lake, and we've had a lake management district for 5 years, starting in 1988. So we did have that lake management district, which helped stop the milfoil that both Long Lake and the North Basin of Patterson Lake was experiencing, and it made a difference. And the lake science has improved massively since that time 30 years ago. Now lakes are managed by integrating natural, physical, and chemical treatments. Not always chemical, only sometimes. There's some natural solutions, and there's a lot of physical solutions that we need to learn about and be able to do collectively. We want to minimize environmental impact, not exacerbate it, and we want to protect human health overall. Even in a swimming pool, that's important. And since we started preparing for a lake management district 2 years ago, we learned that the Thurston County scientists work closely with the state departments of Fish and Wildlife, Agriculture, and Ecology to deliver the best practices for managing our lake. And they follow state laws and regulations. Yes, there's challenges around which has some costs in terms of human health that we all have to consider. But remember, this is a scientific study, and a scientific group that will be making decisions on what's best for the treatment of our lake. I participated with the Patterson Lake Management team to follow the RCW exactly to create a petition. And we made sure it be fair to all, and which we submitted to the county last December. And we expect to start this next January, 2023. And the timing is critical. Our petition requires a lake water quality study to be conducted by professional scientists next year. And it would take some time during that year to complete that study. Those scientists then provide us with an integrated aquatic vegetation management plan to improve the lake in future years. So it is a step-by-step process. That is why I support the Patterson Lake Management District petition to tax ourselves to pay for a professional study that recommends actions needed to keep the lake safe for our family, for friends, and wider Thurston County community who also access our lake, even those who are in distant communities that have an access by a dirt pathway all the way down to the lake. They still have access. And at some point that could be developed. We have to be cognizant of that. Lakefront owners represent a lot of voters, and we want to move this petition forward so our voters can decide. And we're confident our lakefront owners and users will vote to support the creation of the Patterson Lake Management District. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Ross Robb.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Ross C. Robb, and I've lived at 5508 Patterson Lake Drive Southeast in Lacey for 49 years, enjoying the quiet beauty of this lake. The last several years, we've seen the accelerating decay to the point that it must be controlled. I can cite many examples, and you've heard many today, but the most evident at my beach is the aquatic weed impact. Every summer, we have crappie fish nests in the shallows off of our shore. They work to fashion bowls in the sandy bottom to guard their eggs. This year, the weeds were so thick that nests were impossible. And for the record, I sent 2 short videos to this hearing showing conditions before and after weeds were raked out. And within 2 days after the weeds were raked out, the fish were busy building their nests. So if you can look at those videos, you can notice the dramatic difference. I love the wildlife on this lake, and I've never used herbicides, pesticides, or fertilizers. I've always taken the best care possible, but the weeds are choking this lake to death and preventing safe recreation for everyone. The problem is too big and complex for one resident to deal with. I trust the state and county managers to help solve our problems using best science practices and safest solutions. Furthermore, I feel that the taxes levied are reasonable and are less than other LMDs sampled. I have an investment in this lake and its future existence for my children and grandchildren. I'm willing to go the long haul to see this through. I will close by quoting the late civil rights leader and environment advocate, Billy Frank Jr. Quote, "I don't believe in magic. I believe in the sun and the stars, the water, the tides, the floods, the owls, the hawks flying, the rivers running, the winds talking. They are measurements. They tell us how healthy things are, how healthy we are, because we and they are the same. That's what I believe in." Close quote. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Next, we have Sean Bennett.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I just wanted to thank you for listening to me. I'm Sean Bennett, 6037 60th Loop Southeast. I'm about a half a mile east of the lake. I'm in the Lake Point neighborhood, and so we do have just a small point touching the lake, hence the name. I just looked through it. Ultimately, as a Thurston County resident and a father of 3 kids, I'm supportive. I realize that all of the lakes are connected, and they are only as healthy as the weakest or unhealthiest one. So in that regard, I do support it. I guess my question or concern is about the amount. Within that neighborhood, I looked at it just kind of with my pencil, trying to count it out. And I counted at least 200 parcels in Lake Point neighborhood. At $39 per parcel, that comes out to approximately $7,800. That's about 6% of the total amount that will be raised for 2023. However, that point is takes up a very small amount of the actual area of the shore of the lake. So I am supported. I am ultimately supportive. However, I don't know if the amount is overly subsidizing neighbors there on the property, just considering that our surface area is relatively small. I believe someone read a little bit about the lake, the deterioration of the water quality, and our neighborhood, our community isn't polluting any more or any less than other nearby neighborhoods, and they aren't included. I'm happy to pay it forward, but I think us paying almost 6% of the total amount when we have a very small sliver of the lake and haven't contributed to the current situation as much might be too much. So I guess my ultimate kind of point is $39 per parcel. Getting to 6% is a little bit too much. I don't know what the best number is, because those on the lake will definitely benefit from it, as will we all, but I less so, maybe not quite as directly as parcels there directly on the lake. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Sharon Walker.
I'm just listening.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Next, Wendy Jonas. Ms. Jonas? Okay, I'm going to move to the next person, David Pond. No response.
Yes,
Oh, yes. Okay, great. Please go ahead.
I am here. And Lori and I have been residents on the lake for 16 years. We have we live on the lake, we have an adjoining property, but there's 3 points that are most relevant to me. Thank you for asking. But one, my grandkids. We're a family. I have 4 sons, 8 grandkids, and 5 of them are going to be here this week. They can't swim in the lake, or we have to be cautious because of the lake advisory. We're on the north part of the lake, 5242 Patterson Lake Drive. Thank you. And but that concerns me a lot. The lake is what we do here. That's why we moved here 16 years ago from Port Angeles. The second is safety. Like somebody said, dramatically, somebody drowned out there getting tangled in the weeds. That was way more than my worst case fear, but it is close to my fear. I got teenage boys, grandkids, 5 of them out there swimming, and they push boundaries and they go towards those stuff, the weeds. And I'm concerned about that. And I'm also concerned about aquatic life. I'm not just for wanting to start a swimming pool. We're both Lori and I are both advocates for the aquatic life. So we want the safest approach to this. We want a swimmable lake for our kids and future generations. I think, yes, we should be stewards for future generations. Yes, I believe in it. Like, I get to swim. It's like, will my grandkids get to? They do this week. Well, maybe not. But how about future? And I want to pay attention to that. So thank you for addressing my concerns.
Thank you. Next, Lisa McLaughlin.
Lisa McLaughlin, 5203 Atchison Drive Southeast, and I support formation of the Patterson Lake Management District. Thank you.
Thank you. Pierre Clement.
Hi, good afternoon. Pierre Clement, 7739 Atchison Drive Southeast. Absolutely support the Lake Management District. To support what's already been said and be real brief, we had kids here 2 weeks ago, and we spent about a day and a half cleaning the lake with it on the property here. Within 3 days, the lily pads and the weeds were back. It is truly a problem. Not to mention, if you get out on the lake whatsoever, there really isn't a square, I'd say 36 inches, that doesn't have the toxic bloom in it. It is severe this year. It's really bad this year. So thank you, commissioners, and yeah, absolutely do support it.
Thank you. Don Kelly.
Hi, this is Don Kelly. I'm 7922 Kelly Beach Road on the south end of the lake. Most everything I was going to cover has been said, but I just think it's really important that this is looked at as the lake overall, and individual property owners, we're doing as much as we can to remove the weeds and things, but they just come right back in, from next door or 2 doors over, or, a lot of people have lost access to their lakefront with the lily pads, and they're just taking over everything. So I would ask the commissioners to let this move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Whitley.
Hello, commissioners. Diane Perlman, my wife, and I live on Offutt Lake. We're totally in support of Patterson Lake's proposal. We think that lake management districts are the solution for doing things that neither the county nor the state have funding to do, even though the state has ownership in the county as in its mission to protect water quality. So we totally support Patterson Lake's LMD proposition. I would like to speak to the one gentleman who was uninformed about chemicals earlier when he complained about putting Roundup and other poisonous chemicals in the lake. If you're an LMD, you're only allowed to put in 2 authorized chemicals. One is Sonar, one is Aquathol. And like anyone else, no one wants to put poisons in the lake. No one wants to put poisons in their body. If you get cancer, you have choices to get radiology or chemotherapy, things normal people do not do, normal, healthy people. We resort to those things in dangerous times. So Patterson Lake is in dangerous times. Lakes are being threatened, they're dying. We need the help of the county. And lastly, I would like the county to authorize this so we can tax ourselves and provide the funding to address lake quality. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Jessica DeWitt.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Jessica DeWitt. Live at 7641 Atchison Lane Southeast. Commissioner, thanks for hearing our testimony today. I'm speaking today in favor of developing the Lake Management District. I'm a fairly new Patterson Lake resident. We purchased a dilapidated property last year and are currently replacing the uninhabitable residence and non-functioning septic system. We look forward to raising our kids on Patterson Lake, but we are concerned about the safety issues that the current water quality brings. I agree with what others have brought up with notification concerns with water quality. We actually went swimming with our kids in the lake last year during a toxic algae bloom when we didn't know about the water quality issues. So, if you're not a normal lake resident, you don't know about these things. And I think it's an important thing to address as a community and as, from a lake perspective as a whole. As far as aerators, we actually installed aerators this year in an effort to manage our own water quality around our property. And we were really encouraged by preliminary results. We were skimming the water, we were pulling weeds. It was very favorable at first. And then, once the toxic algae bloom happened on the lake, there's no way to prevent that from coming in and encroaching on your property, or your waterfront. So, I think aerators are a great option, but it's not a solution for the problem at hand. Let's see. So I guess I just want to reiterate, I think the Lake Management District is the best path to get a scientist, provide analysis and treatment options for improving the lake quality and safety of the water for residents and also, Patterson Lake residents and also county residents who want to use the lake via the public boat launch. Thank you.
Thank you. John Crow.
Hello, commissioners. Thank you for hearing us today. I live at 7804 Kelly Beach Road, basically on the south side of the lake. I've only lived here for about 2 years. I was born and raised in Thurston County. I grew up swimming in most of the lakes here, moved away for almost 30 years out of state, and just came back with my kids. And I'm invested in the future of this lake. And I happen to be sitting at my dock right now. And being on the south side of the lake, we receive a lot of the southern wind, and it blows that algae bloom to our property along with everyone else on the south side of the lake here. And I don't know if you can see this very well or not, but this is the big clumpy algae that surrounds my dock, my boat, and my neighbors for that matter. So I am in support of the Lake Management District. I concur with just about everything that was said today. I don't want a swimming pool, but I do want healthy water for wildlife and for us and for future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Julie Peters.
Hi, this is Julie Peters, and I'm just totally 100% supportive of this Lake Management District, and also just so thankful to my neighbors who have informed me and who have provided the path to get us here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, those are all the names that I have. I would invite anyone on Zoom who would like to comment that hasn't to unmute yourselves to give testimony to the board.
Okay.
All right.
With that, that will conclude public testimony. Next is discussion or questions from the board. Commissioner Menser? Commissioner Menser, are you there? Commissioner Menser, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now we can. And now we cannot.
I don't have questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. And I don't have questions either. And again, for the public, we will be having a discussion on this tomorrow, July 27th at 10 a.m. And it will be live streamed via YouTube for the public who wish to view it. With that, sir, are you ready to close the hearing? So with that, I will move to
I'm
close.
not hearing anything. Can you not hear me?
I will move to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Commissioner Menser, are you still unable to hear us? Commissioner Menser? We can hear you,
me?
sir. Yes. Yes, we can. Can you hear us? Madam Chair, I
there is no
suggest we take a short pause.
So we will be pausing as Commissioner Menser?
Can you hear me?
Now
Yes,
we can.
Can we?
Can you second my motion to close the public hearing?
Yes, I second the motion. I'm sorry, I'm just having serious connectivity problems here.
With that, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards, excuse Commissioner Menser.
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia.
Aye. This public hearing is closed. Thank you.
Whoops.
Next, we have a public hearing.
So
repealing and replacing the
doesn't
commercial
reach.
property assessed clean energy.
Sir?
I ask members of the public to please keep your voices down. Excuse me. If you'll please keep your voices down as we have another public hearing.
Okay. Could we take just a few minutes?
With that, we'll be taking a 5-minute break. Sorry, Danica. We are back from break and we are about to start our second public hearing. I'm Chair Carolina Mejia. Vice Chair Ty Menser is joining us via phone. The topic of today's public hearing is repealing and replacing the Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy and Resiliency Ordinance. I do apologize, Vice Chair. Commissioner Gary Edwards is excused for this week. Now jumping back, the purpose of this public hearing is to accept and consider public comment on the updated Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy and Resiliency CPACER Ordinance. This is a hybrid public hearing. Those wishing to testify have joined in person by Zoom, emailed in comment, or mailed in comment. If you wish to testify, please visit the Thurston County homepage online and select announcements of public hearings on the left-hand side. The information to join this public hearing remotely has been posted there. If you do not wish to testify but would like to listen and follow along, please watch the live stream through the Thurston County YouTube channel to help us manage attendance. Jenica Machado, Economic Development Manager, will provide information on this topic. I will read the names on the sign-up sheet first. Assuming those on Zoom wish to testify, an Assistant County Manager will read the names aloud in order that they appear on her screen. You will have 4 minutes to testify. Time may not be given to another person. When you are called on, please state your name and address for the record. The public hearing is now open. Jenica Machado will not present background information of the proposed changes.
Hi, good afternoon. In the interest of time, I will skip ahead in the presentation and go over the slide that outlines the new changes in this revision of the CPACER ordinance. So I will go ahead and share my screen. All right. So the Board of County Commissioners passed the original CPACER ordinance in July 2021. Recent legislation was passed that clarifies the enforcement provisions of the CPACER statute, refining the collection process for CPACER liens, completely removing any enforcement responsibility for the county treasurer. As such, amendments are necessary for the county ordinance so the language aligns with state law. Additionally, there is language creating the CPACER fund, the cumulative reserve fund for CPACER, or Fund 1630. The fund will be administered by Thurston County Board of County Commissioners Office, and the source of revenue for this fund will be generated from the fees collected under the program. I'm happy to take any questions on these changes if you have any.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Menser?
I have no questions on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. And no questions from me either, Jenica. With that, we'll move on to public testimony. There is no one in the boardroom. Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to testify? And I'm not seeing anyone besides staff.
No, Commissioner, only staff are on the screen awaiting the completion of our regular board meeting. We do have a short list of names of people who signed up on the CPACER testimony, but we believe that all of these were residents who wanted to testify on Lake Pattison.
Thank you.
And we heard from them, so I think we're done.
Thank you. With that, is there any discussion? Commissioner Menser.
No discussion. I'm going to look at my packet and see. It looks like we have a proposed action. If Madam Chair would like a motion, I could provide that motion after we close the public hearing.
Perfect. I'm ready to move forward, sir.
Okay, I move to close the public hearing.
I'll second. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards is excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye. Commissioner
Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell, did you have?
No, ma'am, technical difficulties on this end. Everything's fine.
I'm ready to move forward with a motion.
I move to approve repealing and replacing the Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy and Resiliency Ordinance.
I'll second. Is there any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards is excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. This will conclude the public hearing. Picking up where we left off on our Board of County Commissioners agenda, we have a couple of items, 8A, B, C, and D. We'll start with item 8A, contract award for US 12 Urban Improvements Phase 1 Old Highway 99 Southwest to West UGA Boundary Project. CP number 61502. Teresa Parsons, Engineering Project Manager, will present on this. Teresa?
Yeah, go ahead. So, sorry about that. I thank you, Commissioner Mejia. This is Teresa Parsons with Thurston County Public Works. Our request before the board today is to have the board award our US 12 and Sargent Road roundabout project awarded to active construction. We had a bid opening on June 16th, and we had a total of 3 bids, and the low bid was submitted by Active Construction out of Tacoma for an amount of $4,096,096. And the project will be to construct a roundabout at US 12 and Sargent Road that will support the increasing traffic in the Grand Mound area, and it will help emergency response. The project is being funded through transportation impact fees, real estate excise tax, and contributions by the Chehalis tribe and other private developers, including Kaufman. The project is in the current 2022-2023 Public Works budget and is in alignment with the county's strategic plan initiative to improve community health, wellness, and safety, and Initiative 8 to support robust and well-maintained infrastructure systems for a thriving community. Welcome any questions?
Questions? Commissioner Menser?
No questions.
I'm ready for a motion. Which?
I move to, we're on, okay, just to make sure, 8B, correct?
8A, sir.
8A, I'm sorry, yes, Highway 12. I move to award the contract for US 12 Urban Improvements Phase 1, Old 99 Southwest to West UGA Boundary Project, CP 61502, to Active Construction Inc. of Tacoma, Washington, in the amount of $4,096,096, and to execute the Director of Public Works to execute the contract and any change orders for this project due to unforeseen conditions only, not for changes in scope, up to 10% of the contract, $409,609.60, or an aggregate of $4,505,705.60.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards, excuse. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
With that, I will go to item 8B, contract award for the Boston Harbor Road Northeast Stormwater Conveyance and Outfall Improvements. Nate Inslee, Senior Water Resources Engineer, will present on this.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. On July 7th, 2022, a total of 5 bids were received to construct the Boston Harbor Road Northeast Stormwater Conveyance and Outfall Improvements Project, capital project number 27W15. Bids were received in response to the work advertised in the Olympian and the Daily Journal of Commerce and posted on the Builders Exchange of Washington website. The low responsive bid was received from Northwest Cascade Inc. of Puyallup, Washington, in the amount of $1,126,126. Again, this project seeks to revamp a failing, outdated outfall structure on the shoreline, and will also seek to upgrade upstream conveyance facilities to handle larger stormwater flows. This project is included in our 2022 through 2023 Public Works budget and the 22 to 27 CIP, and is in alignment with the county's strategic plan initiative number 8 to support robust and well-maintained infrastructure systems for a thriving community. I'm open to take any questions.
Questions, Commissioner Menser?
No questions.
So I would move to award the contract for the Boston Harbor Road Northeast Stormwater Conveyance and Outfall Improvements, Boston Harbor Road Northeast and 73rd Avenue Northeast, CP number 27W15 to Northwest Cascade Incorporated of Puyallup, Washington, in the amount of $1,126,126, and to authorize the Director of Public Works to execute the contract and any change orders for this project due to unforeseen conditions only, not for changes in scope, up to 10% of the contract, $112,613, or an aggregate of $1,238,739. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Next, item C. Set a public hearing for the 6-year Transportation Improvement Program for 2023 through 2028.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Scott Lindblom, County Engineer with Public Works. The item for your consideration today is to request a public hearing to take public comment on the 6-year Thurston County Transportation Improvement Program, or otherwise known as the TIP. The TIP is a long-range planning document that guides the county's transportation programs and projects. Pursuant to RCW 3681121, the board is required to adopt a 6-year transportation improvement program each year. You heard a briefing on this proposed TIP on July 11th. The TIP includes, at a very high level, a look at our revenues and expenditures for the road fund and traffic impact fees, as well as our 1, 6, and 20-year project list, and it also includes our annual bridge report. The proposed program continues to be qualified upon the availability of financial support, and one is which is minimal given the needs of the county for our infrastructure. The proposed program will be made available to the cities within the county, the chambers of commerce, community, neighborhood groups, and any members of the public that may be interested for reviewing and commenting. Public Works is requesting a public hearing to be set for August 30th at 3:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be heard, to provide that opportunity for the public. This request meets the requirements of RCW 3681130, and the 6-year TIP is in alignment with the county's Strategic Plan Initiative 6 to proactively shape a strong, diverse economy that provides equitable access to opportunity, and Initiative 8 to support robust and well-maintained infrastructure systems for a thriving community. I'd welcome any questions.
Questions, Commissioner Menser?
No, ma'am.
Okay, with that, I'm ready for a motion, and I would move to set a public. Can you do it, sir?
Yeah, I can do. I can make a motion to set a public hearing. I move to set a public hearing for August 30th, 2022 at 3:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be heard in room 280, building 1 of the Thurston County Courthouse, 2000 Lake Ridge Drive, Southwest Olympia, Washington, to formally receive testimony and consider the proposed 6-year transportation improvement program for the calendar years 2023 to 2028.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards excused. Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Item D, contract award for the Woodard Creek Site number 1 water quality retrofit South Bay Road Northeast at 26th Avenue Northeast, CP number 27W71.
Thanks again. Nate Ensley here. On June 22nd, 2022, a total of 1 bid was received to construct this project from Active Construction, Inc. out of Tacoma, Washington, with a bid proposal amount of $1,098,098. Again, this project seeks to treat stormwater runoff conveyed from 26th Avenue and South Bay Road prior to that stormwater runoff discharging into Woodard Creek. This construction cost will be supplemented with a $583,000 water quality stormwater financial assistance program grant from the Washington State Department of Ecology, with the remaining cost taken care of by the Stormwater Utility Fund. This project is in the 22-23 Public Works budget, the 22 through 27 Capital Facilities Plan, and is in alignment with Strategic Plan Initiative number 7 to balance development with the preservation of the county's rural character, natural areas, and open spaces, as well as initiative number 9 to support environmental health and climate stabilization. I welcome any questions.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No, ma'am.
Okay, sir, I'm ready for a motion.
I move to award the contract for the Woodard Creek Site Number 1 water quality retrofits, South Bay Road Northeast to 26th Avenue Northeast, CP number 27W71, to Active Construction, Inc. of Tacoma, Washington, in the amount of $1,098,098, and to authorize the Director of Public Works to execute the contract and any change orders for this project due to unforeseen conditions only, not for changes in scope, up to 10% of the contract, $109,809, or an aggregate of $1,207,000, or $207,908.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards is excused. Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. With that, we'll go on to county manager's items. Item 7A, commissioners reported on board work sessions and assigned committee meetings this morning at agenda setting. So if members of the public would like to see our report on board work sessions, it is there. So we'll move on to item 7B. The county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of July 26, 2022.
Thank you, Commissioner. Very quickly, tomorrow, Wednesday, July 27th, at 9 a.m., you have the presentation of the Thurston County Storm and Surface Water Utility Comprehensive Study. At 10 o'clock, you review the testimony you heard this afternoon on the Patterson Lake Management District. At 2 o'clock, there is a work session on the Martin Way Corridor Study Update. And at 2:30, the Western Washington Phase 2 Municipal Stormwater Report Annual Briefing. And then at 3 o'clock tomorrow, the SWAB Annual Briefing. And I believe that SWAB stands for Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board. At 4:30 tomorrow, the board will participate in the opening ceremony of the Thurston County's 150th plus 1 years of the Thurston County Fair. The opening ceremony is scheduled to begin at 6 o'clock tomorrow. On Thursday at 10 a.m., you have commissioners check-in. There are no mutual meetings on Friday. Saturday morning, July 30th, at 7 a.m. is the Commissioner's Pancake Breakfast. And on Monday, August 1st, you have the virtual assembly of the Washington State Association of Counties. And that will round out your week. I would also, if I may, Commissioner, like to thank all of the members of the public who came out today to give testimony, and to thank the staff, especially those who stuck around to complete the meeting today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Robin. Definitely, we like when the public's engaged and show up, and we definitely saw public engagement today. So thank you to all the members of the public that came and provided public testimony today. With that, we are adjourned. It is 5:10 p.m. Thank you.